Jason here from GettinSum Restoration. I know it's been a while since I posted anything. Probably because it's been a while since I did anything as far as the restoration side of things goes. Probably not since my cousin and I restored the GMC Sierra, which turned out awesome. Ended up going to a dentist who absolutely loves it. So as far as I'm concerned, that's 1 for 1 right there. But for the last year, I kind of been out of it. I haven't had really a space to work out of and whatnot. It kind of took some time to search out the right spot that I felt was able to manage the needs that I have and also the affordability. So I did end up getting a shop, which here it is. It's a little unorganized, as you see. It's a work in progress. Got a bunch of stuff over there, parts car and whatnot. But what I'm really making this video about is this 87 Pontiac Trans Am that TJ had dropped off. TJ has a number of things he would like me to do to it, but for starters, he wanted to upgrade the factory stereo to an aftermarket, more powerful, better sounding stereo. But this car I want to talk about first off is, like I said, 1987 Pontiac Trans Am. All original paint, wheels, motor, transmission, rear end, everything. This thing is unbelievably clean, and probably one of the hard ones to find this clean, especially in Wisconsin. Not a speck of rust on it, really. And TJ's got himself a nice car, and I'm happy to have the pleasure to work on it for him and do some upgrades. What we're doing is we're upgrading the factory sound system, like I said, and initially we were going to put a CD player and new dash speakers and new rear side speakers. Now, that all worked out pretty good. Sorry about my delay there. That all worked out pretty good. We had some little side problems here that we had to manage through to make everything work. TJ had found these Scar speakers online, which first I will say I was a little skeptical because I've never heard of them before. Until I took them out of the box and I looked at them, and they're a really well-built speaker. But with that well-built speaker came some issues. So I have the speaker all mounted in now, but basically, if you look at it from this direction, the speaker sat about that high and it wouldn't go down any further. This bottom plate, this plate right here, was up here. So what I realized is that the factory speaker had a magnet about that big. This speaker has a magnet about that big. So it won't fit really well in there. It won't go all the way down. And what the problem was is that the instrument cluster, as you can see, right, oh, it's a little dark. I'll try and get a best view as I possibly can. Anyways, is a digital dash instrument cluster. So that had to come out, which was a little labor intensive. As you can see, we got big portion of the dash taken out and sitting on the workbench over there, kind of hidden behind my roller toolbox. But we took it all out, taking very good care not to damage any of the electrical and any of the instrument cluster, because this stuff for this car is hard to find, and we just don't want to damage anything. So took that out, brought it out on the workbench over here, and took it all apart, took all the components out of it, set it all, laid it all out onto the counter there, so that way we knew how to put it back together, basically. And had to, can't really see underneath there, but had to cut it out the shape of the speaker so that way it would sit down in there further. Okay, so here's part 2 of the video that I accidentally turned the power off on that you just got done watching. So I'm going to continue on from my mistake. So I was talking about the dash, and I had it all laid out. Now, I put it all back together, and when I was putting it back together, I realized there was a burnt out bulb, which is this little tiny 882 number bulb that basically they don't use in cars these days anymore, really, that I'm aware of. Maybe they do. But the only place I could find one was online. So I have one coming, and I can't complete putting the dash together until I get that here. Otherwise, it'd probably be all set, put together already. But I'm glad it's not, because then I can't make this video like I want. So he ended up going with a Pioneer deck. Now, I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can see right there that the wires are all connected the proper way. I used the 3/16 butt connectors, the red butt connectors, made sure they're all crimped good, and then I heat shrinked them with heat shrink to protect it from itself. Basically, the wires are in aluminum. You get a big bunch of wire connectors all together, then you want to make sure they're all connected. Now, we opted to go with a factory harness plug-in setup, and what that is, it's a harness you can buy that you wire your stereo to this harness, and then it plugs into the factory wiring plug for the stereo, so you don't have to do any hacking of the wires, which is not something I like to do. I don't like to cut any factory wiring. Fixing that's always a mess later. But this is all done the correct way. It's hard to see, but that harness is in there. The stereo is just kind of hanging out until I can put the dash back together. But I put it together for testing purposes, and everything works great. So at that time, because we decided to make the modifications in the speaker, we had to tear the whole interior basically apart. We decided to run the wiring and put some subs and an amp in it right away, instead of having to do it all again later. So I'm going to start up front here, and you can see this is the power lead. Nice and tucked away, looks good. It's not interfering with anything in the engine. Goes through a factory grommet there that I have to finish putting in place. Got the fuse block attached here, so everything is nice and buttoned up tight and looks good. Now, when that comes through the firewall, it actually, I took the sill plates out and the kick panels, the rear side panels, ran it underneath the carpet on this side, and put everything back together. Now, I ran the power cable and the remote wire on this side, and I ran the RCA cables exactly the same way, but on the opposite side. So that side all came apart as well, and now it's put back together. And the reason why I do that is because if you run the power lead, which is that big cable, along with your coax or your RCA cables that send your signal to your speakers, you get a buzz or a radio interference from the alternator sending the current, and we want the stereo to sound good, and having a buzz in the sound does not sound good. So that's why we do that. We take the extra time, or I do that. I take the extra time because I'm solo in the shop at the moment until hopefully at another date somebody can come and help. But yeah, all done the right way. And then we get back here, and again, it's all tucked away real nice until I get to here. I don't have this completed yet. This is just headliner material that I could use for basically a visual aid while I'm putting it together. So this is going to get refelted to match the box when that comes in. TJ is going with 1 of 2 amps, that used amps that I had here for sale. Basically, we're going to hook them both up individually and see which one sounds the best in here and go with that one. And I'm glad I was able to get him to okay the capacitor. What the capacitor does is it stores current in here, so when the base hits, it doesn't have an instant draw on the power lead, which if that was the case, if it had an instant draw on the power lead, your lights would dim every time the base hit, and it would put mega draw on your alternator and your battery also. Continuation number 3. Please excuse my camera work. I'm not a professional, and I will never ever admit to being one. So, all right, talked about the capacitor. Now, TJ is bringing me some Rockford Fosgate subs. My last experience with Rockford Fosgates was when I was 18 years old, and they were pretty kick-ass. I haven't messed with them much since then. They've been around a long time. I like that they're old school. I'm excited for them to come tomorrow, actually, and we'll get those put in, some 10-inch. So that pretty much wraps up TJ's. Oh, I want to mention that this box TJ got from an online source, pre-made, pre-carpeted to fit this specific car, and I'll tell you what, it fits in here amazingly. It's nice and tight and snug and secure. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to rattle or bounce around. And he got it for a great price. So honestly, that's the way to go. I can custom build any box here for any vehicle, but if you have an opportunity to pick something like this up for what he paid, I'll tell you, that's the way to go. All I had to do was have a plywood for an amp rack so we don't have to drill into his floor of his trunk, because we don't want to do that. So, especially since there's a gas tank in there. There's a gas tank underneath this. We don't want to drill into his gas tank. We want to make sure he keeps his fuel and I don't blow up. But yeah, that's TJ's Camaro. The next video will show everything complete. Maybe I'll get TJ's reaction on the video. That'd be kind of nice. And we'll make sure these seats are back in, and that's gonna be the finishing touches, because he's got some rad Trans Am seat covers that I'm gonna be installing on these seats before I put them back in. I'm kind of excited to see those. I pulled them out of the box. They're really, really good quality, nice seat covers. They'll really finish off the detail of this car inside good. So yeah, also I am adding customs to my official name of GettinSum Restoration and Customs, because I don't just make things the way they were. I can totally customize anything that comes around. If somebody wants some major upgrades, engine upgrade, suspension, wheels, paint job. As you can see, I can't do a paint job yet, but working on it. So we'll see what happens with all that. Also, this thing is in the books. This is a shop-owned car. I guess you could say it's a spec car. It needs some work. Got a little bit of rot right there, and then also the trailing arm enclosure or support is rusted through. So there's really nothing holding the rear end in place on this side. If somebody take 4, and I think I may need a camera guy, maybe. But anyways, yes, this is the Camaro, and it's gonna be done who knows when. But there will be videos, and it'll be fun. Please like and share my video and my Facebook page, and get the word out. I'd like people to know what I'm doing here, and I'd like to have fun doing it. And see Jason back from GettinSum Restoration and Custom. We're here with TJ's car. It's pretty much all finished. Waiting on him to come and check it out and give his seal of approval. But while waiting for that, we'll go through everything with you and show you everything that's done on it. Last time you saw it, the dash was all completely taken apart. Dash is all back together. CD player's all mounted in. Everything looks good. And we got the rad seat covers in that TJ had me install. I think they look pretty sharp. Definitely adds a lot to the car. Then we come back here. And there's the finished product with the subwoofer install. Personally, I think it looks pretty good. Quite happy with the result. Yeah, so that's it for now until TJ gets here, and I'll see if I can't get him to give us a response on tape. Talk to you soon.